All right, let's just jump right in. We're talking about something kind of weird today. Why our cities, these places that are supposed to be buzzing with human connection, might actually be the very thing making us feel more anxious and, well, alone than ever.
I mean, have you ever felt that? That really strange modern feeling of being in a huge crowd but feeling totally, completely disconnected? If you have, you're definitely not the only one. And that feeling, that's exactly what we're going to unpack. So, here's the big idea, the thing that might flip how you think about this. What if that feeling of isolation isn't actually your fault? What if it's not some personal failure, but it's baked into the very design of the world around us? That's what we're getting at. That maybe, just maybe, our world is built in a way that makes being lonely the easiest option.
All right, so that brings us to what I like to call the loneliness paradox. We move to cities for all these amazing reasons, right? For community, for opportunity, but somehow we end up feeling more alone. So let's see what the numbers actually have to say about this.
Okay, check this out because the numbers here are pretty wild. When you compare city folks to people living in rural areas, the risk for anxiety disorders jumps by 21%. For mood disorders, it's a 39% increase. And this one's the real shocker. The rate of schizophrenia literally doubles for people who are born and raised in cities. So this isn't just some vague feeling, it's a real, measurable thing.
And this really gets to the core of it all. It's not you, it's your city. We're all trying to connect, right? But the problem is our modern world, from the apartments we live in to the parks we walk through, it's just not designed to help us do that anymore. It's not doing the heavy lifting for us.
So the big question is, how? How does a city literally get under our skin and mess with our brains? Well, let's get into the science of it, the actual biology of what's happening. Okay, so you can see this chain reaction here. It all starts with city life and all the constant low-level stress that comes with it. That constant pressure basically flicks a switch in our brain's stress response system. It's called the HPA axis, and it gets stuck in the on position. And when that happens, our body gets flooded with stress hormones, which, over time, that can lead to some serious issues like depression.
Let's dig a little deeper into that. Your body kind of has two alarm systems. You've got the fire alarm, that's for immediate danger, your classic fight or flight. But then there's this second system, the HPA axis, which is more like a constant low-level security system. And here's the problem. City life, with its endless noise and social pressures, keeps that long-term security system armed all the time. That means our brains are constantly marinating in the stress hormone cortisol, and that just wears you down.
So what are these stressors we keep talking about? Well, researchers have this handy model called the SDD model. S is for stimulation. Think sensory overload, constant noise, feeling unsafe. D is for discrepancy. That's the social stress from things like income inequality and just not feeling like you belong. And the last D is for deprivation, a lack of resources, not so great living conditions. It's these three things, all working together, that keep that stress alarm blaring.
Okay, so it's easy to think that anxiety is just a modern thing, right? But the truth is, we humans have been dealing with this feeling for, well, forever. The feeling's not new. What is new is the world we're feeling it in.
I mean, just look at this. We're going way back to ancient Greece, where Hippocrates was already writing about phobias. Then you've got Cicero in ancient Rome, who was smart enough to figure out the difference between feeling anxious in the moment and just being an anxious person in general. The point is, we've been trying to get a handle on this for thousands of years. The anxiety hasn't changed, but the sheer number of things in our environment triggering it, that's what's off the charts today. So okay, that's the history. But here's where things get good. Here's the optimistic part. Because unlike our ancestors, we know how much our environment matters. And if we know that, it means we can change it. We can literally re-engineer our world, from the biggest city planning decisions right down to how we arrange the furniture in our apartments, all to build more connection. Let's start with the big picture. Think about adding more nature into our cities. This isn't just about having pretty parks to look at. It's a direct weapon against all those stressors we were just talking about. Green spaces clean the air, get us moving, give us places to bump into our neighbors, and, this is the big one, they give our totally overloaded brains a break. It's basically a direct antidote to all that city stress.
And this same kind of thinking works for social problems too. Take homelessness. The old way, the staircase model, basically made people jump through a ton of hoops before they could get a place to live. But the housing first model completely flips that. It says, let's give you a stable home first, because that immediately dials down the chronic stress of just trying to survive. And guess what? It makes everything else so much easier. It's a brilliant example of designing a system to reduce stress, not add to it.
Okay, now let's bring it all the way down to where we live. Think about the classic studio apartment. It can feel like an echo chamber, right? If you want to see people, you have to make a plan, get over that inertia. But look at something like co-living. It's designed for connection from the get-go. It just makes interacting with people the default, the easy thing to do. Suddenly, making dinner isn't a chore you do alone, it's a chance to connect.
And we have to be just as intentional with our digital spaces. Think about finding a really supportive online community. A lot of the time, Reddit is actually way better than, say, a Facebook group. And the reason is simple. It's anonymous and it's all about the topic, not about who you are. That lets people be way more honest and vulnerable than when their real name is attached to everything they say. It's a game changer for finding real support.
We can get even smaller, right into our own homes. If you work from home in a small space, you know how that line between work and life just disappears. And that is a huge stressor. But something as simple as an open bookshelf can create a mental wall. You set up your work zone on one side, relax zone on the other. But the most important part, that last step, the little ritual of physically putting your laptop away. It's like you're telling your brain, okay, we're done for the day. It's so simple, but it works. And finally, let's talk about redesigning our social habits. Talking to a stranger feels so risky, doesn't it? But here's the thing. Study after study shows we are terrible at guessing how it'll go. We think people will reject us, but they're way more open than we imagine. The trick is to just lower the stakes. Don't go in with a big personal question. Just comment on something you're both experiencing. The coffee, the weather, whatever. It gives them an easy out if they're not feeling it, and it makes the whole thing feel super casual and low pressure. And that brings us to this quote, which it hits hard. If we had deliberately aimed to make cities that create loneliness, we could hardly have been more successful. I mean, wow, we didn't mean to do it, but by prioritizing things like privacy and efficiency over and over, we accidentally built the perfect machine for making people feel alone.
So that's the big takeaway here. Our environment is the key. And that leaves us with one last and honestly most important question for you. Knowing this, what's one small thing you can do to start redesigning your world for connection? Whether it's in your apartment, online, or just in your daily routine. What's your first step?